There was a time when I had to have been maybe about 2 years into recovery, and just a lot of things were going wrong. I was in a toxic relationship, and I walked into a Circle K and I found myself with a bottle and an 18 rack. And I started bawling in line. I set it down right where I was at and I walked out of the store. But to know you have resources, to know you can call people, to know that you're not alone in this journey, and to know that I'm able to just be human and be vulnerable and not have to hold it in anymore. There's a gentleman by the name of Brandon Novak. He was one of the guys from Jackass, right? And he says something that really hits me all the time. Alcohol wasn't your problem and drugs weren't your problem. It was your solution.
Today, we are here on another episode with Johnny Armijo. He is a certified peer support worker, and I want to hand it over to him to see if he could let us know all the amazing things that he's doing in the community of Albuquerque.
All right. Well, to keep it a little short and to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a certified peer support worker in long-term recovery. I got 9 years of sobriety. Thank goodness. I also work with Soul Recovery Café, New Mexico Peer Coalition, and then the lead coach to the Addict II Athlete program. Just doing some great things in the community and really just finding my purpose. Yep. Being able to help individuals who are struggling with substance use, mental health, and just really rocking the house with helping people.
Yeah. I noticed this shirt says suffering well.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So I'm a product of the Addict II Athlete program, and it originated in Pueblo, Colorado with Rob and Sheena Archuleta, who have just really done some amazing work with building exercise and got with recovery. We brought it out here to New Mexico. I didn't personally, but my niece did after I got my third DWI. She was like, Uncle Johnny, I got this program you need to try. At first I was a little hesitant, because I was scared of being sober. I didn't want to get sober, but I just gotten out of prison. I just got this third DWI, and us with criminal thinking, I was like, oh, there's a loophole. I can probably get out of trouble with this. It was me and an instructor sitting in a parking lot after a workout, and it just clicked for me. I was a participant, for about a year. And this gentleman was like, Johnny, I'm going to get ready to leave. I got other things to do. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? He was like, well, you're going to run this program. I just took it over and I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing it for the last 8 years.
Wow.
It's an amazing accomplishment. It's an amazing program. And we have worked with thousands of individuals over the years. So yeah. I love it.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for that intro.
Thank you.
You said that you grew up in Pueblo, Colorado.
Yes.
And you were adopted at 3 weeks old.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what life was like growing up in the household and the family that you were adopted into?
Absolutely. So being adopted at 3 weeks old, my parents, John and Sarah, really had an amazing dynamic in the home. They had 6 other children that were all girls, so it was kind of hard for me to grow up with the household of girls. But it taught me a lot over the years. Also, they were foster parents at that time as well. Growing up in a household with children that were just coming in, who were screaming at 3 a.m, who had so many concerns with abuse and, leaving their household. But, one thing that was really cool growing up with this situation was really taught me a lot. I remember children coming into the home about 3, 4 in, screaming and not knowing what to expect. And me being the one talking them down, helping my mom give them a bath right away, being caring and just loving on these individuals who were just struggling. And I remember being at a young age, and my mom she would tell me, she was like, "You'd be a great counselor someday." And who would have thunk it? You know, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm just an individual with lived experience. So to take that under my belt and really help with people now, you know, growing up in that household really did teach me a lot. You know, like I said, I did have 6 older sisters, so that was quite the ride itself. You know, it taught me a lot about girls. It taught me a lot how to be genuine. You know, it really taught me how to be around women and accept their strength. You know, because I know a lot of guys are all about the machismo, and to be in a place where it was learning and loving, and you know, it was really great for me.
So you said that your parents were fostering other children.
Yes.
That you were helping to support and take care of.
Yes.
At a young age, taking on a lot of responsibility, it sounds like.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about it though was there was so much focus on the kids that had come through our house. There were times I kind of felt like I was pushed away a little bit. So I think that's one of the reasons, maybe not one of the reasons, but that played a big part in my addiction. That played a big part in me being out on the streets all the time, you know, because their focus was on these other children in the home. So,
when did it become apparent to you, or did you learn that you were adopted?
So, man, there's so many things I could say about that. You know, my sister Annette was so loving to me as a kid. She would tell me, you know, "Johnny, you're so special," and this was probably around, you know, preschool age. "You're so precious. We chose you." And I remember being so proud of that and going to my preschool class and telling these kids, "Hey, I'm adopted. I'm so loved. I'm special. You know, I'm the chosen one." I remember my teacher, Miss Brooks, coming up, and she was just trying to explain adoption to these children. And she was just like, "It's kind of like giving away a dog, taking a dog into your home." So that stuck with me for a lot of years, with abandonment issues, with not feeling a part of something. You know, even though my family was so loving to me and they were so just wonderful people, it felt like a sense of like not belonging, you know, and even with, you know, my parents being a little older, you know, bringing them to school or functions, and people would be like, "Why are you bringing your grandparents?" You know, so that was something that was hard for me as well, because I saw all my friends bringing their folks, and they were doing activities and doing this and growing up and being 10 years old, and your mom and dad being in their 60s, you know, but it made for a great life for me.
Yeah.
You know, they were caring and loving and always so supportive, and you know, it was an amazing childhood.
To say that you felt like a black sheep.
Yeah.
And your family was like the Brady Bunch.
Oh, very much so.
That was an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
And to understand it. No
cussing, no smoking, no drinking. And my sisters were, and they're still like that today, you know. But it was I'm sure it was a shock for my parents as well, because they had all of these good girls and doing these good things in school, and then here I come and I just turn their world upside down.
You said at age 7 that you were sexually abused.
Yes.
When that happened, how did that change your life or the way that you saw yourself?
Well, it happened with a older neighborhood kid. I was a little baby, man, you know, and for this almost, I don't know, I guess almost prepubescent adult, you know, taking advantage of a young kid, it was really tough. I remember one time I got tired of it, and we were getting off the bus from school. I was like, I'm telling on you. Oh, I'm telling on you. And I spit the biggest snot in his face, and he just beat the shit out of me in somebody's front yard, like walking home. It didn't happen again after that, but yeah, he really laid one on me. I remember getting home, and my mom was like, "What's wrong with you? Are you all right?" And I was bleeding from the face, and I had bruises all over. And I was like, I fell off my skateboard on the way home. There was a point where I was having an episode, and I was like, "Mom, this happened." And she was like, "Oh, don't you lie to me." And she must have thought that it was just something that came out of my mouth, you know. But I did tell her at one point. It was really hard going through years of feeling just really little. And then I remember a couple years later, my dad used to work at a steel corporation. And I remembered him getting home from work, and he would open his work cabinet, and there he had a big bottle of vodka, and he would take a sip, and it was only one, you know, but I saw it, and I was like, what the hell is that? So I remember going in, and he would lock it up, but he didn't lock it very well. And I just put a cup, and I poured me a little cup, and I took some drinks, and I didn't have to be Johnny anymore. Mm-hmm. And it took me away. And I used that as my crutch for a lot of years, mm-hmm. because I didn't have to feel embarrassed or ashamed or little anymore. And it gave me a superpower. Mm-hmm. You know, the addiction, that's where it really started. Mm-hmm. My parents had like Kahluas and stuff in the cabinets and inside. And I remember always sneaking. In the 80s, you could walk to any liquor store and see somebody standing outside or walking in and being like, "Hey, buy me a bottle." And they would do it, you know. And now times have changed a little bit, but it started from there.
You told your mom, but it sounded like she didn't believe you.
Yeah.
Was there anybody that believed you, or was it just something you held to yourself?
Yeah, once I let it out one time, and I wasn't heard, it was buried. I used that alcohol to keep it there. Mm-hmm. There were times where I would go to school, I'd go fill up my big slam bottle or just a water bottle, and I'd be drunk in class, I'd be drunk at school. I bit some kid's ear one time fighting before class, and, you know, it was just a downhill spiral after mm-hmm. that, you know. But I loved it. You know, I didn't have to think anymore. I played sports. I did great in sports and stuff like that, but it was always alcohol. Mm-hmm. That was my best friend. You know, I would drink alone. I would drink it at home. I would go buy 40s and hide them in my speakers. And, you know, it was a mess for a lot of years.
Even at a young age, did anybody notice? Or was there ever signs that this was happening? Or did it ever you find comfort with other friends drinking?
Absolutely. I drank with friends all the time, and I was always the one bringing the booze, or there would be like a middle school party, and here comes Johnny with his bottle of vodka, you know. My mom used to find bottles and alcohol, but I think she might have been a little too caught up with what was going on at the house as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there were 2-3 kids in our home, you know, struggling themselves. So she really paid attention to that, you know, and at times it was like, "Hey, where's Johnny?" Well, he's not making any noise, so just leave him alone. It kind of ousted me as well, being out in my neighborhood and being out with friends at 11, 12 years old at 2 a.m. As long as I was quiet, it was kosher.
It's interesting that you said when you were younger, you were craving that attention.
Of course.
But there was so much need for other children in the household. But then later it became a way for you to escape because you knew they were too busy taking care of other children.
And I was running amok as well, stealing the car. Like, life was not perfect for me with them as well. You know, getting a ticket driving at 12 years old, you know. I really put that family through a lot. You know, suspension after fight after, it was just, I was acting out, and I had no idea where it came from, my hurt and my anger, you know. And now that I'm sober for a lot of years, you know, I get it. I see where the pain was, and I see where the hole was. And now as an adult to really recognize what it was that brought me into alcoholism, you know, what a blessing.
Was there a time that it started to escalate, or a turning point where you noticed there was no turning back?
Well, it went from, you know, big slam bottles and, you know, water bottles full of vodka to leaving Pueblo and moving to Vermont. I moved to Vermont for a while. That was a whole shit show, because before I left, the alcohol turned into cocaine and ecstasy and methamphetamines and you name it, I was using it. It really spiraled when I started going to parties and raving a lot. And, you know, that brought a lot of drug use into my life. There was a time we were coming back from a rave from Colorado Springs to Pueblo. And we were out of drugs, we were out of money. And a buddy of mine was like, well, hey, I heard you can get high drinking inkjet cleaner from a computer. I was like, all right, let's try it. So we got back to his house and I let it rip. You know, it was quite the experience of, you know, no control. I poisoned myself. I put solvents in my body and I drank that, you know, and I couldn't talk for 2 days. I couldn't eat. I couldn't motivate myself. It was quite the experience, let me tell you.
When you told me about that, I thought it was deep into the addiction, you know, because I've heard experiences like that where people are just desperate to get that feeling, to get that drink, to get that drug. But it sounds like more in your case, it was out of like maybe also experimentation with this, you know, thing. What was the feeling with that?
With drinking inkjet cleaner?
Yes.
It took about 3 to 4 minutes to get into my system. But my speech, I couldn't speak. It was like stuttering, like a constant stutter. Mm-hmm. It took my vision to waves and walls breathing, and it was kind of gross. Now that I think about it, I mean, it was a great time back then. You know, how was it? And it was like, I could do it again, you know, but I was just poisoning myself.
And you said alcohol has been, you know, the main drug.
Yes.
Substance. Was there ever any opiate use?
Later on, you know, it began with, you know, doing some pills, some Percocets here and there, but not until later in my addiction. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was in Vermont as well. A friend of mine got me a bunch of pills, and then he was like, hey, Johnny, I got this heroin, you know, give it a shot. So that's what I did, is I gave it a shot. And it wasn't something I liked, because I liked the uppers. I liked the high, not the low highs. So it didn't really stick with me as well. But when I was looking to get high, that's what I found. And I would just use it because I wanted to escape. You know, I wanted to just be gone.
Mm-hmm. When did you go back to Colorado?
So I was released from prison. I did a 7.5-year prison sentence in the state of Vermont. And in the state of Vermont, they don't have a state prison. So they ship you around the country. I did Kentucky, Alabama. I did upstate New York, Massachusetts. So they ship you quite a few places. And that was an experience on its own, because it was pretty intimidating. You know, if you picture 4 semi trucks side by side, and you walk into this building and that hallway can drive 4 semis down it, it's kind of scary. You know, 4,000 men. It's loud, it's crazy in there, and you have to protect yourself. So getting out of prison, Father's Day, 2010, I moved back to Pueblo, Colorado. I was writing some girl and she was like, well, come live with me, Johnny. I was like, all right. So I maxed out my bid. After jumping parole, I had to complete a 9-month sentence. Got out of prison, and I went back to Pueblo, and I moved in with an alcoholic. Very toxic, very just a lost soul as well. But we connected. We knew each other from years back. One day I walked in, and it was just mayhem, and I picked up my backpack. It's all I had, and a small T-shirt. I left. It was cold outside. It was ugly, and I was homeless. I went and stayed at a shelter. I mean, there were people I could have called, but me being the person I am, I hate to put my burden on anybody else. So I went to the shelter, and I stayed there for about a week. And finally, I was just like, I can't do this. So I called my sister Veronica here in Albuquerque. I was like, hey, can I come stay with you? She's like, no. No, absolutely not. She was like, you're drinking, you're using. Nope. I was like, ask mom and dad if I could go stay at the house. And she was like, call me tomorrow. And so I called her the next day. And my mom and dad were like, hey, if you can come, get a job, stay sober, you got a place to stay. I was like, thank God. So I went to Catholic Charities. They purchased me a bus ticket one way, and I ended up here in Albuquerque. Best decision and kind of the worst decision I made as well. I know it's kind of funny, but we went out to breakfast on the following Sunday. We walk in there and we order food, and my dad looks at the manager and was like, hey, are you hiring? My son's looking for a job. And I was like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, how embarrassing. She was like, you need a job? I was like, yep, I sure do. I filled out an application at the table, and they hired me on the spot. Me being a good bullshitter, but a hard worker as well, I worked there for about a week. They were like, hey, Johnny, we would love you on our management team. And I wasn't drinking at the time. I was sober, and I was like, wow, how cool, what an opportunity. So I took it. I got everything set. I made a few bucks, and I rented me an apartment over off of Wellesley, and right in Oldtown, or Nob Hill, I'm sorry. I got a little money in my pocket, and I went celebrating. So once I found the alcohol and started drinking again, here comes the coke, here comes the meth, here comes it was just a mess. Lost my apartment, got fired from my job, moved back in with my mom and dad, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm an addict.
How old were you during this time?
Oh, this was 12 years ago, so I was in my 30s.
I know there's a lot of questions from just what you were explaining to me about incarceration, and then also coming to New Mexico. But it sounds like your family then left Colorado and came here.
Yeah, so my mom and dad are originally from here, New Mexico, Wagon Mound, and a little town called El Cerrito, where my dad grew up. They moved to Colorado in the 50s, working in the fields. My mom went to school out in Pueblo, and they got together. Well, around 1999, I was living in Pueblo at the time, and they had moved back here. They followed my Nina and my Nino. My sister Annette moved back out here. My sister Veronica moved out here. So my parents followed. So they are back in their roots.
If this is something you would like to share, how did you become incarcerated?
Well, St. Patrick's Day, I was at the bar with my friends in the afternoon, and we didn't get wasted. We just had a beer, and we were planning on meeting. We were planning on meeting at night. So I went home, showered, changed, smoked a little weed, and I was on my way back to the bar to go meet them around 9. I passed by a group of individuals. It was St. Patrick's Day. The streets were crowded, And I bumped into this guy, not a big deal. Like, hey, sorry, dude. Him and his buddy started really, talking a little shit. They were like, well, let's go to the alley and fight. I was like, well, why? Let's just do it right here. They were just, it was just a lot of talk, So I turned around and I started walking down the street. Well, they both followed me. And they were just talking slurs and just really egging on a fight. Finally, we came to a cross street on Church Street in Burlington, Vermont. One of them turned back, and the other one kept following me. And finally, I kind of jogged across the street, thinking I was going to get away a little bit. And he followed behind me, and he spit on the back of my neck and said, "You fucking spick, get the hell out of my state." And I turned around, and he punched me in the ear. And I pushed him away. He just came running at me all drunk, and I punched him one time. And I got a aggravated assault with severe bodily injury. When I punched him, I knocked him out, and he went face first into a metal grate. So it broke his sinus cavity, his jaw, 8 teeth, his eye socket. I remember the day that they came to arrest me. They broke in my home. Guns drawn. There was about 10 to 12 officers that I remember. And they were like, "Where's the brass knuckles?" And there was no weapon. I just caught him on with the good shot, And I, being in the second whitest state in the nation and being brown, they don't like that out there. So I sat in jail for 10 and a half, almost 11 months. Waiting for arraignment and to set trial. My lawyers were I had public defenders, and they were I think they had other motives as well. They kept telling me, he's going to show up, we have him already, he's done his documents, and they railroaded me, I think. And even to day of trial, they were like, he's here, but he never showed up. And I could have walked. It was just kind of shitty,
You mentioned about being a man of color in Vermont. What about while you were in the prison? What was that like?
Oh, that was interesting. You'd be surprised how many men of color are in the penal system on the East Coast. So you do have to stick with your own race. You do have to stick with brown people and, African Americans to their side and, Caucasian and white people, the same thing. Like the Vermont prison system was a little different because they would ship you all around the country. So you're stuck with this group of men of all races. And it was a little different. Yes, you did stick with your own kind, but we did interact a lot. So I think that made it a little bit of an easier road. But going into that prison system, it really is don't come around me kind of thing.
Was there anything that you took away from being incarcerated that has been helpful?
Oh, absolutely. I credit a lot to being incarcerated. I think it really grew me as a man. It really taught me a lot of lessons. Till this day, I wake up 4 o'clock every morning because of chow call breakfast. It taught me structure. It taught me to shut my mouth. It taught me there's so many lessons. I'm really grateful for that experience. I know it sounds weird because being locked up with a bunch of men and being loud, it really taught me to just learn about myself and know that I could conquer anything. If I can make it through the prison system, I can do anything I want.
Kind of going back to the last point you said about Albuquerque, after finding employment, getting the apartment, getting the money then led to you having access again to alcohol.
Yeah.
I feel that's a common thing where people start having success in their life, but then that success feels good and the money is there, and now I can buy and access the things that
Yeah.
I couldn't before.
Well, your addiction will kind of lie to you. Hey, look at all the great things that I'm doing. I'm sober right now. I have an apartment. I just got a car. I need to celebrate. Maybe just one, So matter of fact, we talk about it in group all the time. Having that one, it's a slippery slope, especially when you're in recovery. You think that you can handle one, and maybe you can for the first few times, but it's going to get you. It's going to come back. And for the most part, probably worse than what it was before. And that's what happened with me, because it was wake up, go to work. And I had gotten me a different job at this point in time. And it was 6 to 6 days a week working. So I was making great money, but really just drinking the whole day. It got to a point where I was at about a half gallon of vodka a day by myself. It really kind of spiraled, I would wake up in the morning, probably cash a 6-pack, go to work, have my water bottle full of vodka. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I would get to work and I was working on automotive, on vehicles. I'd take their car for a test drive. I'd go stop at Walgreens, pick up some shooters for me and the guys at work, and drinking and driving. If I would have gotten caught in these vehicles, it would have been my hide.
And you say that point, we take the risks, know, even knowing there could be a chance where we get caught, where we could hurt ourselves, hurt somebody else.
Yes.
But we're still going to take the risk.
Oh, absolutely. There was no care, and I think it got to the point where I really didn't care about myself, not caring about the consequences, whether I was to hurt anyone or whether I was to hurt myself. There was no self-love anymore.
We hadn't talked about your children yet, but through all the things that you had lost, it seems like the relationship to your children was one of the biggest things that was affected through your addiction.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that?
So, being a 15-year-old in high school, I met my child's mother. That was a hard relationship. And in the beginning, I knew it wasn't my fault. She was 17 when I met her. I was 15 years old. She was a month pregnant with another man's child. Well, I ended up staying with her through the pregnancy, through all of these things that I shouldn't have been doing at such a young age. That relationship was really toxic because she still had a relationship with this other individual, and I watched her cheat on me since day one, but I stayed with her. Why? Probably because I had abandonment issues of my own. I didn't want to see a little baby go through what I went through. So I stayed with her through all those years. 3 years later, we ended up having my biological daughter, Brittany. Still toxic. It got to be very abusive. There were times where we'd get out of school and go home, and her mother would be fighting with her boyfriend. And he was a 50-year-old guy at the time. So I'd go have to fight a 50-year-old man to help her mother out, And my family never had abuse. They were never abusive or anything like that. So that was a learned behavior from her family. And my addiction stemmed even more so because there was cocaine involved in that family and household, alcohol on a constant basis. So there was fighting, infidelity. It was just a mess. My girls are amazing. They are the sweetest. They are super smart. They are doing some great things in their life. Although my connection with the older child, it's there, but there's difference. My biological daughter, Brittany, we have a pretty good relationship. She got to see me in addiction as well. She's not a drinker. She doesn't smoke. And to have my grandkids get to live a lifestyle where they don't have to partake in that, it's amazing.
You have been through so much in your addiction, and it sounds like it was where you came to the point this was threatening your life. Can you tell us about how alcohol has affected your health?
So the very first thing that really scared me, for about a week, I felt like I had a popcorn seed in the back of my throat, and it just wouldn't go away. And I was like, what is going on? It felt like, you get a popcorn seed stuck in your tooth and just can't remove it. So I ended up going to the doctor, doing a endoscopy, and they're like, Mr. Armijo, do you drink a lot? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. They said, well, it is deteriorating your esophagus, and the flap in the back of your throat is not closing all the way. And there were nights that I would lay down. I had to sleep sitting up for quite a bit of time, and it was really making the flap in my esophagus not close. So I was throwing up when I was sleeping, and that was really uncomfortable. Every time I would burp, I would burp up vile, and it was gross for a little bit. The second time there was a scare for me is I was over my mom and dad's house, and I was walking through their kitchen. It was early in the morning, and my dad was sitting at the table, and my mom was on the couch sitting down, and I had just passed out. Got to the hospital, and they were like, Mr. Armijo, you are pre-diabetic. You had no sugar in your blood this morning. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I remember getting out of the ER. I had a new apartment at this time. I walked down to Stoneface Tavern, and they have a bar or a liquor store there. And I just went in, had a beer, went and bought me a bottle, and I walked home. I didn't care. I was at the point where it was either going to take me or it was going to take me. And I didn't care at that point. It wasn't till I received my third DUI to where I really started to think about recovery. And I had tried getting sober before that. There were a few times I would hit 30 days, and my Nino even made me a plaque. Congratulations, Johnny, you made it to your first 30 days. So I went and celebrated, got drunk for hitting my first 30 days. But my recovery and everything stemmed from finding Addict Athlete, and it's really boosted my recovery over the years. And, I think we might have spoke about it earlier. I had just gotten out of prison. I had just got this third DWI, and I wanted that loophole. I wanted to not get in trouble. I was good at doing that over the years, Oh, please, Judge, just let me give me one more chance. And I knew at this point in my life I wasn't going to get one unless I did something. So my Nino picked me up from Madrid bail bonds. He was like, you hungry? I was like, yes, I'm starving. I just got out of jail. We sat in the car for a minute, and he went to go back up, and he threw it in park, and he looked over and he was screaming at me like, I am done with you, Johnny. I'm done with helping you. I'm done bailing you out. I'm done helping you get phones and cars and all of this stuff that I've been able to help you with. I'm done. And he said some things that hit home to me. I just had my first grandbaby. And he says, how would you feel if that child had to explain why you were in the grave? Why you were in a jail cell for the rest of your life? Well, my grandpa killed somebody drunk driving. That really put everything into perspective for me. And then here comes A2A, and it just changed my life. It changed my outlook, and I started to get to work on what was wrong, to bring up those things that happened to me when I was 7 years old. That was a mess. But counseling and therapy and learning why I was hurting and learning why I was running, why I was scared, why I wore masks, it was my godsend, and now to be able to assist my community and help individuals that are going through the same things that I had went through, it's my savior. It's my life.
You said it a couple of times. You would use alcohol to celebrate.
Oh, absolutely.
Even in a young age, you were using it to feel better. So you were learning that at such a young age that most of your life that was the thing.
Yeah.
How does exercise now take the place of alcohol, and how would you speak to that for other people to think about exercise in their own lives or part of their recovery?
Exercise and recovery, it was it for me. It got me high. You know, it really poured those endorphins, and it kind of let me feel like I was using. It gave me joy, happiness, it gave me purpose. It let me feel like it was my escape. The working out, the being in the gym, the not having to think of anything else. So it was my new addiction. You know, and I know you shouldn't trade one addiction for another, but if you can find something healthy and pro-social that'll really give you a new way of coping, it works.
When you've used exercise for yourself and tried to teach other people, coach other people, do you feel like there's, at the beginning, you know, the pain that you go through, there's pushback in it?
Yeah.
But what do you think it is when you finally get through that pain, that then it's rewarding and you see the pleasure of exercise?
So we have numerous individuals who are intermediate, that they have not done any physical activity in years. They come into these groups, we modify. We always go with how their body moves, if they are able. So we really pay attention to that. But we push people. We want them to know that they can do it, that they can conquer anything. You know, we do everything from hiking La Luz to going on bike rides. This next weekend, we're going to go hike the TWA hike. And we try to push people, not because we want them to fail, but because we know that there's so much benefit with them building self-esteem, knowing that they could conquer anything.
I like how you said that it's a way to build yourself, build self-esteem, build confidence.
Yes.
Because when we're in addiction, we've lost it all. We've lost trust in others. But this is one thing where we can take control of, and we can find trust in ourselves, trust to be a better person, be more fit, be more healthy, and seeing success in that. I feel that it's a huge tool that people can use for their treatment.
Yeah.
You are a peer support, certified peer support worker. You also said that that was a huge part of your recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about why you felt like that was a crucial role in your recovery?
So if you really think about it, individuals who have tried to get sober, whether it's on their own behalf or going through a court system, you can talk to an individual like a PO or a judge or a counselor or a therapist, and you know they're going to be like, hey, look, this says here in my book that this is how you should do it. My A2A instructor was straight up with me, and he was just like, Johnny, you're going to F up and go back to prison if you don't change this. And the thing is he spoke to me in the way that I understood. He talked to me in my language, not out of a book. I really took a lot of great advice from him. And then to become a peer support worker, after having 2 years of sobriety, working for an organization that I loved at the time, it really helped me stay sober. So I think being able to help individuals really can boost your own sobriety. I don't think I could have stayed sober all the years if I wasn't a peer support worker. And I tell that to my groups all the time, like, I'm no different than you are. I just have a little bit of clean time, you know, so to sit there and to connect. And we tell our groups all the time, right? What's the opposite of addiction? It's connection. Mm-hmm. So to build community, and I think that's why I struggled in the beginning. because it was only just, oh, it's only me. I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one dealing with this. But to know that there are hundreds of people in my community that are struggling with the same thing that I was. And to bring them all together like we're doing now. We had a class of, 25 individuals, maybe 30 individuals today. They were all going through the same thing, whether it's through a court program, whether they're coming to groups on their own. It's building connection.
Whether you realize it or not, you told us something in the beginning that your mother told you at a young age that you would be a great counselor.
Yeah.
And you were in a community then. You knew what a community was like because you were part of this huge family.
Yeah.
And now you are a leader in this because it probably is really natural to you to do this kind of work.
It really feels like it. And that's what we are. We're leaders building leaders, right? We pick these people that can really ride with us, that we see so much potential in. And those are the ones that we really want in our communities because we know that they're going to take our jobs. We know that they're going to take our spot. We know that they're going to help their community. Even though there's so many out there, there's a lot of individuals that come into this field and they're not healed themselves. And it causes a lot of drama for other people who are really trying to heal themselves. So my suggestion and my advice is if you do want to get in this field, please work on yourself first because we can really hurt another individual. I think that's what it is. If you are thinking about this, we have to work on ourselves. I'm still working on myself. It's going to be never ending, but learning and really trying to focus on my hurts and what's really went on in my life to make me shy away from people or to make me, second guess an individual. Like I'm still working.
Actually, I think that's something that we don't talk a lot about is that somebody like you who people look up to, and they're like, that Johnny, he's so amazing. He's a great leader. But what does Johnny still struggle with? And just like being realistic about it, knowing that every day you're working on recovery, you're it's not perfect. Yeah.
There was a time when I had to have been maybe about 2 years into recovery and just a lot of things were going wrong. I was in a toxic relationship and I walked into a Circle K and I found myself with a bottle and an 18 rack. I started bawling in line. I set it down right where I was at and I walked out of the store. But to know you have resources, to know you can call people, to know that you're not alone in this journey, I think has been such a breath of fresh air. To know that I could call, whether it's my coworkers, my family. I got a really good buddy who lives out in Espanola, that I'm sure if I called him, I'm like, dude, I'm struggling. I'm sure he'd be here in 20 minutes. So to know I'm not alone, to know that I have community, and to know that I'm able to just be human and be vulnerable and not have to hold it in anymore. I think that's what it was. And that's where my addiction just really took a turn for the worst. Not speaking, not going to counseling, and not focusing on why I was hurting. There's a gentleman by the name of Brandon Novak. He was one of the guys from Jackass, right? And he says something that really hits me all the time. Alcohol wasn't your problem, and Johnny, drugs weren't your problem. It was your solution. It was your solution. And that really hits, and that goes for everybody. It was your solution for the good times, the bad times, the parties, the funerals. Like, it was my best friend, and somebody was talking about it in group today. I was like, of course, you got to go through mourning. You're losing such a huge part of yourself. He was like, I'm dreaming about it, Johnny. And I was like, yeah, you're gonna. But the further you keep pulling yourself away and working on yourself and attending groups and classes, right? Maintaining your recovery is such an important thing you know, whether you're in a court-ordered program, because that program's going to end. You're going to be done soon. You know, we have to learn to maintenance our recovery. It's not only attending like AA or NA or Addict Athlete. It's really focusing on staying there. Volunteer work, helping your community, looking into becoming a peer support worker, maybe a community health worker. I know it sounds weird, but immersing yourself in your recovery and really just knowing that this is all you got right now. I wouldn't be doing this, you know, this is all I have, but I love it. There's a lot of people that say, hey, you know, you shouldn't mix your recovery with work. I call bullshit, if you don't mind my French. I call bullshit. It's because this is what keeps me accountable. This is what keeps me on point every day. This is why I wake up in the morning. This is why I only get 4 hours of sleep. This is why. It's because I love the people I work for. I love the people I work with. I tell my groups all the time, like, I just have a little bit of clean time, but I'm the same asshole I was once, you know, but I'll never change. You know, I go into the courtrooms and I wear shorts and t-shirts, and the judge is just like, Mr. Armijo, welcome. I won't change for anybody. I'm still this rock hard person who's stubborn, but I love what I do and I love serving my community. I love doing groups and classes and really just helping, because if I didn't do this, who knows where I'd be.
Before we started the interview, you were already telling me all the juicy stuff, and I was like, like trying to stop the conversation because I wanted us to talk about it here.
Yeah.
But I can see that energy you have, and it's just like nonstop.
Yeah.
You know. But I do think that more people need to find ways to access that.
Sure.
And just in general conversations, when I'm sitting face to face with somebody, I'm asking them, what are your goals? And sometimes they say none. And their only goal is to find sobriety. And I tell them, you need to have something that gives you purpose. There needs to be a reason. And, you know, just planting that little seed, hopefully it's helping somebody. But, you know, this is what I'm talking about. What you're telling us, the things that you've done to get to this point, it wasn't overnight. It took you time.
Yeah.
And you've been at this now 8 years. With A2A, you also have Recovery Café, which I would like you to speak on that. But you've worked at this, and it's amazing what you're doing for the community.
Well, I think what it is we all have this huge goal of sobriety and wellness and white picket fences and 2.5 kids and the best relationships and all this happiness, right? We see it, we can feel it. But I think what discourages a lot of people is the timeline. We got to focus on the little things, because that's what's going to get us to our success, right? Like, we got to go through the trials and tribulations and the shitty parts of recovery and the not feeling good and having triggers, and it's going to be there. And we can't forget about that. What it is instant gratification, right? Especially for us as addicts. We want it now. I tell my groups all the time, like, it's instant gratification because we're addicts and we want everything at our beck and call. Who's got the party tonight? Who's got the 8-ball tonight? Where's the kegger? Where's all this tonight? Start thinking about future. It's start thinking about what we can do in the long run. How we don't have to sit around and have our pity parties at home. Get out and go do something. Find the things that we used to love to do before our addiction. We were speaking with the gentleman not too long ago, and I was like, well, go on a bike ride, dude. He was like, oh, you know, I used to love riding my bike. Well, bring it back into your life. Fill that time. Notice that there's something that's been missing. If that's what you love to do, if you like to play chess, if you like to go fishing, like, do something. We can't just sit around and have that party for us anymore. Mm-hmm. If you want that goal, It's the little things that matter in life. The rebuilding the relationships with families, the working on your employment, like relationships with your kids. That was a big thing that really got me going again, was rebuilding those relationships. So these are the little things that we got to work on that are going to bring our sobriety into the forefront. Because I think if you really focus on that long-term goal and that's what I want, it's not going to happen. We have to work on the little things, the counseling, the therapy, the AA groups, the Addict to Athlete, whatever the case may be. We have to find something. We have to find what works for us, right? Our like I said before, our recovery isn't cookie cutter. We're all different, and we all have to find what's best for us. There's a lot of people that come into Addict to Athlete and they're just like, oh no, this isn't going to work for me. I can't do it. Okay, well, come to the groups then. So after our workouts, we do an hour of supportive aftercare. We talk about everything from antisocial personality patterns to harm reduction to what am I going to do on Saturday night when it's New Year's? Who am I going to call? Like, giving these different options to all of these individuals has just really changed a lot of lives. Mm-hmm. Hell, we got one sitting right in front of us over here. And I'm proud of that, to know that I have a little bit of somebody's sobriety in my pocket. It lets me know that I'm doing some good things, changing lives. And that's all we can hope for, right? And that's all we can do is help another individual. And that's just a part of being human. That's just part of being good people. I'm probably never going to be a millionaire from this, but I do it because it fills my heart with happiness,
That's like really emotional to hear you say that. Because what do we have in this life, We don't leave with the money. We don't leave with the mansion. But to find the connection, like you're saying, to be there for somebody when they're at their lowest moment in their life, like that's what being human is about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We have people coming into groups all the time. And even Andrea, this morning or last night, as a matter of fact, there was a gentleman who come into group and was just wearing the most tattered pair of shoes. I said, hey, what size do you wear? And me being a shoe freak, I have tons and tons of sneakers in my closet. So I brought him a nice pair of shoes, and Andrea was just like, Johnny, that was really nice of you. Look at those shoes. They look good on him. That filled my heart, last night. So just whatever we can do to make somebody's journey a little easier, whether it's giving them advice, getting them an Uber ride if we have the means to, giving snacks every group, building people, like I said, it's building that community, bringing them back. Hey, dude, why are you here? And there are individuals who come back with other DUIs and like, hey, I just graduated my program. Well, why are you here today? Good morning. Well, Johnny, I just got another DUI with charges pending. All right. So what do? We just treat people like people, and it's truly loving people and healing people. It's a scary road. I know, because I was scared myself. I'm still scared. There's days where I'm like, F it. Today's the day. But then I think about my groups and I think about my classes, and it's not that I'm putting myself on a pedestal, but I'm holding myself accountable. Because what if I ended up in my group and I'd smell like booze? They'd be like, oh, F this dude. Why would I listen to him? So I have to be on point. I have to hold myself accountable. I have to come in sober. I have to show up early. I have to get the groups ready. I have to do it, because there's been so many years, that's all I had. And I had to depend on myself, even in addiction. It was just me. And I finally recognized that. So I had to do things myself. And for the longest time, I ran Addict Athlete by myself. And I ran all these groups by myself. And I took it upon myself to do it because I knew that I was my only choice. So to find an individual like the people that we work with now, you got to prove yourself to me. If you want to be in my circle, you got to prove yourself to me. And that's the special part, because we get to pick and choose the strong ones in our community and the healers and the people that we know that are going to benefit the next person. You know, I have this young lady. She came to us at 19 years old and just latched on to us. She's currently now taking her National Association of Sports Medicine certification. She's going to be starting a youth program. So we're very proud of her. She come by way of Andrea to see us changing even the lives of young adults, and to see her wanting to do this for her profession. Like I said, we're changing lives.
That's amazing. And, you know, if you had an opportunity like this at 19, I think how that could change the course of your life. You know?
You know, it really could have, but I wouldn't change my life for the world. I might have had some crazy times with dealing with the penitentiary and fighting and getting kicked in my face with a steel toe boot and fighting all the time, and the drug use and the alcohol use and the homelessness, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It made me who I am. It made me strong. It made me resilient. It made me smart. Like I said, I'm not college educated, but I know a lot about life, and I've graduated the School of Hard Knocks, you know, and it's made me the man I am today. So I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm glad I went through all that shit.
There is times where we feel like we want to tell somebody something about how far we've come. Had you ever thought about that, to tell the parents who gave you up for adoption, like where you are in your life now?
You know, I've thought about it. My mom and dad are 94. Both of them are 94. I would feel of it to be kind of a bit of disrespect to them, because they have sacrificed so much to me. Yes, I would love to meet my birth parents, but not now. Have they tried to search for me? So why am I going to give them that satisfaction of knowing how good I'm doing? I don't care. I mean, I care a little bit, and it hurts, and I do hold it, but they don't deserve me.
What do your parents have to say about you?
Oh, you know, over the years, there were times that I would go walk into my mom and dad's house, and my mom would get up and go put her person in the room and lock the door. She is dealing with dementia right now, and my sisters get a kick out of it all the time. Like, I'll go over there every Sunday, and my sisters are sitting around the table or in the front room, and I walk in, and she's like, "Oh, there's my baby." And they're like, "Ugh." You know, it's changed. You know, I tell a story all the time about my dad. When I first got into sobriety, I said, "Hey, Dad, I hit my first 30 days, you know," and he says, "Big deal, Johnny." And come along, "Hey, I hit 6 months." Okay. And then there would be times when he would just be at the table just shaking his head. "Hey, I hit 9 months." All right. You know, the year came. "Dad, I hit a year of sobriety." Well, that's what you're supposed to do, Hito. And it feels so good because I get to walk into this home where I was kind of, and still am, a bit of the black sheep. But now that black sheep's, you know, recognized, and I get to show pride and power in that family now, you know. It's not like, "Oh my God, what did Johnny do now?" kind of thing. You know, "Oh, he did it again." You know, I went to prison. My dad was so upset. You know, I even called him on his birthday. And he answered the phone, and I was calling from jail. I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm sorry. Happy birthday." And he said, "Thanks. Sarah, your son's on the phone." That was it, you know, and I didn't talk to him for a lot of years. But I get it. I understand the disappointment, the embarrassment. "Oh my, where's Johnny?" Locked up. And I'm sure I put a lot of hurt in his heart, and my mom's heart too. So being in this role of being a community advocate for addiction, being on the news, being in the newspapers, doing amazing podcasts, I'm making them proud.
If you had to tell somebody that exact thing, like my parents are not proud of me and they're never going to trust me. I don't see the why I should keep trying to connect with my family. They've disowned me. They've kicked me out. What would you tell to that person where they know that maybe one day that there's a chance to regain a place in their family?
Rebuilding relationships is a very hard thing. We can't expect it. Like we were saying earlier, we want that instant gratification. Look at me, I got this sobriety, I'm doing this thing. Actions speak louder than words. Don't talk about it, be about it. If you want that respect and you want that relationship to rebuild, earn it. You can't make it change overnight. And I think that's why everybody gets so frustrated with their recovery, because we want it right now. Look at me, I'm doing this. I'm really changing. Yeah, but look at the last 30 years that you effed everything up. You tore this family apart. Look what you did to your kids. We got to heal too. And it's not just us in addiction. Your family is in addiction as well, dealing with it with you. Even if they had to break ties with you, that's something that you got to deal with. You got to ask yourself those questions. What do I have to do to make this better? I could talk till I'm blue in the face and give you so many tools and ideas on how to fix this, but you and your family are the only one. Coming soon, I would like to implement a Addict II Athlete family portion as well. We were at a gym prior to COVID, and that's what we were doing, is having individuals bring some of their family members. During the group, we'd split them up, and we would move one addict and one family member to another group. And it worked really well. I wish COVID didn't happen, but they get a different perspective. What was the addict dealing with? How were they functioning? And the family gets to see this. They get to learn about why their children or their grandkids or their daughters, or, why were they so out of it? And I think what it is for us as the addict, like we were saying earlier, we got to fix what's in our heart. We got to find what it was why we were using. So the counseling, the therapy, the rebuilding relationships with family, it doesn't happen overnight. For a lot of us, it's a lifelong struggle. I had a group last night, and my question to the group was, are you an alcoholic? And I had a gentleman that attends my group. I said, are you an alcoholic? He was like, nope, it was all a mistake. I said, well, your 3 DWIs say different. Oh, nope, it was just a mistake. I could stop. This isn't a problem for me. I'll see you back. And this being your third, the next one isn't Metro Court, it's District Court. So you will do some time, probably a year. So my advice to you is to focus on why you're here. Look in that mirror and really question yourself. Am I an alcoholic? Yeah, you are. And I think being accepting and knowing that, I think our world and our society right now is so full of having to be politically correct. I'm a drunk. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a junkie. And I think when I finally said that to myself and looked in the mirror and accepted that, it wasn't about being somebody with a alcohol and substance abuse concern. I had to call it what it was for me. And that's why I was so accepting of it. And same with my A2A instructor. He called it that too. He was just like, Johnny, you're a junkie, dude. And I had to be like, oh, damn, I really am. So accepting those words and not masking it and making it less than what it was, it helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. In the spaces that you are now, I want to make sure that people know what they are and how they can access them. But also too, if somebody's really in the lowest depths of their addiction, where and how would they connect to you? And, who is this open to? And And can you also speak to the Recovery Cafe so that people just know, how they can access you and your team?
So there's so many portions of it. So I work with the New Mexico Peer Coalition, which is an organization that's helping individuals in the field. So whether you're a community health worker, a counselor, a therapist, if you're a CPSW, like we're out in the community pouring out our souls to everybody. Who's helping us? What place do we have to go so we can be vulnerable, so we can let out our feelings, so we can ask questions about individuals that we're working with? And what I love about it is what happens there stays there. It's a really cool organization to really get in touch with if you are in the field. Soul Recovery Café has been the light of my life for the past 2.5, almost 3 years. We're doing some great things in the community, whether it is Addict II Athlete, or we have groups such as anger management, peer-to-peer groups. We do a financial literacy course. We do one-on-ones with individuals. We have a grief group every week. We got a Spanish yoga class that just started with us. There's so many things that we're getting ready to do right now, and that's what it is. We're building community, and we want individuals in the community to come and start their own group. If they would like to do a cooking class, if we're getting ready to open up a juice bar, like we have so many things going on where individuals can come volunteer and hang out. If you're having a shitty day, come and drink a cup of coffee with me. Like I might make some crazy coffee, but you'll enjoy it.
That's what I was wanting to ask you, if that was one of your goals, to be a barista.
Maybe not a barista, but my coffee will definitely put some hair on your chest. And that's it. Like we're just people. And that's what we want these individuals in our community to just come in and help us with our garden. I have a gentleman coming in this Monday who's going to come help and blow the backyard and help us with the garden. And like, it's a place where we can feel comfortable. It doesn't always have to be about recovery. It's about being people and building community. That's truly what we're about.
Yeah. I will be sure to link all of the entities and groups that you are a part of. I want to offer a closing statement. And a lot of times people put this as like speaking to somebody who is going through this, who's struggling, the individual or the family. But, if there was something you could say that was lasting, what would that be?
Oh, there's so many things, but I guess one of the things that stands out to me is I might not always know what I want in my life, but I know what I don't want. And that's what I try and stay away from, is the don't wants, don't needs, don't haves. And I try and surround myself with positive people and people I know who care, and people I know who care about other people. I think that's really important, is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Have you ever heard that saying, if you want to be successful, hang out with successful people? And that's what it's been for me, is surrounding myself with these people who are going to really help me succeed.
Well, Johnny, you are doing amazing things. And ever since I met you, I knew that there was so much more out there than just our space where we are working,
Yes.
And I think even your spark helped spark my thoughts about, well, what else can I do? And I think that is just contagious. We have to be doing that to everybody. Like you're saying, we need to surround ourselves with like-minded people, because we never know what we might say, our action, that then will influence somebody else to jump on board with doing this. And so turning to our audience here, I think the biggest takeaway from these conversations that we're having here is that the only way for us to make change in our communities is to be the change.
That's right.
And so I hope that more people will tune in and listen. And I will make sure that all your information is linked below. But thank you so much for being with us today. And hopefully we'll catch you on the next episode.
Can I throw a plug real quick?
Yes.
Soul Recovery Café, 1111 Carlisle. We're open Monday through Fridays. We have Addict II Athlete Monday nights from 6:30 to 8:30, Wednesday nights from 7 to 9, and Friday nights from 6:30 to 8:30. We also have an amazing recovery circle where we have a small intimate group with individuals who are in recovery, and we have about 10 to 12 people who come to these groups. So come check out our recovery circles. Come check out Addict Athlete Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. Oh my gosh, these workouts are insane. You guys will have such a great time. We kick a lot of butt, so be ready.
Well, thank you again, Johnny.
Thank
for
you.
Being
I
here
appreciate you
today.
having me.
Of course. Please help me on this journey to help change the trajectory of our story. We are Project Basecamp, and we are climbing to recovery.